One looks like we certainly have a quorum, so I think we can get started on today's meeting. Good afternoon. This is Council Vice Chair Molly Cummings. It is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. Before I call the meeting to order, I would like to say a few things about how we will conduct this meeting, as we have for almost 2 years now. I want to acknowledge that COVID-19 has caused us to alter our meeting procedures, and the Metropolitan Council Chair has determined that it is not practical or prudent to conduct in-person meetings due to the pandemic. The Metropolitan Council and its committees and advisory committees will conduct meetings in accordance with Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021, and members will participate by telephone or other electronic means. Given that it is not feasible for the public to attend these meetings in person, the council will permit pre-registered members of the public to comment during the public invitation portion of this virtual meeting. The public is encouraged to monitor this meeting remotely via our website and YouTube. Public may also submit comments to public.info@metc.state.mn.us, and we will respond promptly. During the meeting, I will ask the council members utilize the wave or hand feature on the WebEx software to indicate that they would like to speak. I will call on members in the order I see their virtual hand. Members who are using a phone connection only should speak up when I call for any other discussion on the item. I can't always see everybody, so if you are trying to get my attention and I miss you, just kind of jump on in, please. I ask that members again state their name when they're speaking to ensure members of the public can follow our discussion with ease. Because of the virtual nature of the meeting, we will call roll for each business item, and when we do so, Liz will call the roll in alphabetical order. If there are no questions, I will call the meeting to order by taking attendance by roll call to ensure we have a quorum for this meeting. Liz, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Barber?
Here.
Chambliss? Cummings?
Here.
Ferguson?
Here.
Fredson?
Here.
Gonzalez? Johnson?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
Lilligren?
Here.
Lindstrom?
Here.
Musset?
Here.
Sterner?
Present.
Vento?
Here.
Wolf? Zurin?
Present.
Thank you, Liz. We certainly have a quorum. Next would be the approval of the agenda, and there is no roll call vote necessary unless there are changes. Is there anyone who wants to offer a correction or a change or anything to the agenda? Hearing and seeing no one, the next order of business would be the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from December 22nd, 2022?
So moved, Lindstrom.
Second by Barber.
Second by Barber. Thank you. Liz, could you please call the roll?
Barber?
Aye.
Cummings?
Aye.
Ferguson?
Aye.
Fredson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Lilligren?
Aye.
Lindstrom?
Aye.
Musset?
Aye.
Sterner?
Aye.
Vento?
Aye.
And Zurin?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Great. Next up is our public invitation. If anyone from the public would like to speak, we have no one who is pre-registered, but I will remind you that public comment is available if you pre-register by emailing public.info@metc.state.mn.us. You can also send any comments in by email if you choose. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Vento moves approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second by Lee.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Liz, would you like to call the roll, please?
Barber,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
and Zurin.
Aye.
Excellent. Moving on to reports of the standing committees. First, we're going to hear from Councilmember Lilligren representing the Community Development.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Council members, Community Development Committee brings 2 items forward today for consideration. The first is business item 2021-351. It's to award $3.2 million in livable communities tax base revitalization count grant funds to support 11 redevelopment sites. We received 14 applications in May, totaling $3.6 million in requests. 3 of these applicants did not meet the minimum scoring threshold for funding. For projects recommended for funding, upon completion, the projects are expected to result in 22 acres of contamination cleanup, an annual tax base increase of $1.8 million, nearly 400 full-time equivalent jobs added and retained, 543 new and preserved affordable housing units, including 270 units affordable to households earning below 30% of the area median income, 87 units at 50% of the area median income, and 186 units at 60% of the area median income, and over $250 million of private leveraged private investment. Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council award 11 tax-based revitalization account grants as shown in Table 1 of the staff report, and to authorize the Community Development Division Director to execute the grant agreements on behalf of the Council.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there a second?
Johnson seconds.
Thank you, Councilmember. Liz, would you call the roll, please?
Barber,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musset,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
and Zurin.
Aye.
Excellent. That motion carries. And back to you, Councilmember Lilligren, for your second item.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Business item 2022-1 is to adopt affordable and life cycle housing goals for 17 communities enrolling in the Livable Communities Act Local Housing Incentives Account Program for the 2022 to 2030 decade. Communities can enroll in the Livable Communities Act Local Housing Incentive Account Program any year by, among other things, adopting affordable and life cycle housing goals for the decade 2021 to 2030 by November 15th of the preceding year. In 2020, 59 communities submitted required materials to re-enroll in the Livable Communities Account Program for that decade. The Council adopted affordable and life cycle goals for those initial 59 communities in January of last year. By November 15th of 2021, an additional 17 communities submitted required materials to participate in the program. The Community Development Committee held a public hearing on the affordable and life cycle housing goals for these 17 additional communities, as is required by statute. No comments were submitted as part of the public hearing. Upon adoption, these communities will be eligible to apply for Livable Communities Act grants beginning in 2022. So, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council approved the attached resolution 2022-1 adopting Livable Communities Act affordable and life cycle housing goals for 2021 to 2030 that have been locally adopted by communities participating in the Livable Communities Act program for 2022 to 2030.
Thank you, Council Member. Is there a second?
Sterner seconds.
Right, is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Liz, would you like to call the roll, please?
Barber,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
and Zurin.
Aye.
Excellent, that motion carries as well. Moving on, the Environment Committee has no reports this evening. The Management Committee has no reports, and the Transportation Committee has reports that were on the consent agenda. So we will move on to other business. Business item 2022-11, appointments to the Equity Advisory Committee, the EAC. The Equity Advisory Committee had 9 at-large openings due to term expirations as well as vacancies in District E and District G due to committee members leaving their terms early. The council has been recruiting for these openings through partner community organizations, council members, and council communication channels since last October. The Equity Advisory Committee advises the Metropolitan Council in its work to advance equity in the metropolitan region. There is great interest and passion for this work in the community as seen by the quality of the candidates that applied. Thank you to Council Members Gonzalez, Council Member Lee, as well as current EAC members Leah Goldstein Moses, T. Wee, Anita Irvine Davis, for serving on the nominating committee. This nominating committee helped develop interview questions and an evaluation rubric, reviewed all application materials, and hosted virtual interviews. I appreciate all of your dedication to the equity work and the time invested in developing this list of recommended candidates to continue the work at the council. Is there a motion to approve business item 2022-11, the Equity Advisory Committee appointments of districts E and G for the remainder of a 4-year term ending January 1, 2024, and for 8 at-large appointments for 4-year terms ending January 1, 2026.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second by Sterner.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This is a really important committee. This is really exciting to see it filled out, and thank you for all the work that was done. I know that the committees, the nominating committees, put a great deal of time and passion into finding and the recommending and interviewing, and it's so exciting to see so much passion around this and so much interest in serving. So thank you to everyone who applied and to those of you who served on the committee. It's just wonderful. So we have a motion and a second, no discussion. Liz, would you like to call the roll?
Barber,
Aye.
Cummings,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Lilligren,
Aye.
Lindstrom,
Aye.
Musse,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
and Zurin.
Aye.
Excellent. And with that, welcome to the new members and the committee thank you for all the work that you do. It's excellent. So our last item tonight is an information item on the Comprehensive Plan Composite, Planning for Aging. Welcome, Angela, Freya, and Gabriella.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I'm Angela Torres, Manager of Local Planning Assistance in the Community Development Division. Freya Thaman and Gabriela Olvera will be kicking off the Planning for Aging conversation that you're expecting in just a moment after I touch briefly on some regional planning connections. I want to take just a moment to introduce Gabby since this is her first time presenting to all of you. Gabby is an associate planner in local planning assistance. She started at the council in May of last year after a highly competitive process, and we are so pleased that she's joined our team. After she received her master's in urban and regional planning from the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the U of M, she worked at the City of St. Paul on both housing and equity initiatives. And then since joining us, she has supported the council's technical review responsibilities, supported components of the next regional development guide, like planning for vision, values, and equity, as well as completing research on local comprehensive plans, which has contributed to the work that you will see tonight. As you'll see, we're very lucky to have her on the team. Next slide, please. So, to start the regional planning connection, council staff have been reporting to you on a number of different items as an early part of our 2050 regional planning process. You may remember that when we talked to you last November, that we discussed the core questions we ask in regional planning. Where are we today? Where do we want to go? How do we want to get there? What are barriers or opportunities for achieving our vision? And today we're bringing additional reporting on the Where Are We Today component. Staff from across the council have also been reporting on items like travel trends, water quality, land consumption in previous presentations, just to name a few. The intention is to view each component as a building block or a foundation for what you might need to know for the upcoming work on the next regional development guide, the plan for 2050. Today, we'll continue reporting out on what we have found in local comprehensive plans. The comp plans share complex positions from different geographies and community types throughout the region, evolving programs and ideas, innovative approaches to issues or challenges, and emerging priorities. That includes acknowledging unknowns and uncertainties as well. It's just a wealth of information that sets us up to understand where communities are now so that we can better understand what the region's challenges will be in 2050. Next slide, please. We first came before you last April to share out high-level themes, we called them headlines, from analysis of the 2040 local comprehensive plans, which we called the Comp Plan Composite. We know that the local comp plans reflect regional policies. We provided a big picture overview showing how local plans reflected those regional policies, particularly related to the regional systems of transportation, water resources, and regional parks, but also land use, housing, and natural resources, where the Council's policies provide direction to local planning efforts. We've also shared analysis on elements related to climate change, equity, and public health. You may remember a partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health and the Public Health Law Center, which came before you last June. Today, we'll add another building block, and you'll hear about aging. I'll turn this over to Freya and Gabby for their analysis on how communities are planning for an aging population. But I want to let you know that we continue working and we will be back before you as we have more to share out. For example, we'll bring reporting on housing at an upcoming Committee of the Whole meeting in February. So I look forward to seeing you then. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. My name is Freya Thaman, and I'm a sector representative in local planning assistance. As Angela mentioned, today Gabby and I will provide a big picture overview of how planning for an aging population has been discussed in the 2040 comprehensive plans, and we'll also highlight emerging areas and momentum on the topic. As shown here, our population is changing in ways that will influence and shape our future growth and development. Between now and 2050, no age cohort will grow as fast as the age 65 and up population. Between 2010 and 2030, the share of residents 65 and up doubles, and residents 75 and up triples by 2040. In 2050, approximately 22%, or 1 in 5 residents in the region, will be age 65 and up, a change from 1 in 10 in 2010. The demographic shift is important in thinking about housing, transportation, employment, and the built environment. And it's important in thinking about the needs of older adults as they age, as well as the differences in needs at age 65, 75, 85, and beyond. Next slide, please. So we wanted to see what communities were including in their plans on the topic of aging. Almost all communities have submitted their 2040 comprehensive plans for review. For our assessment, we reviewed the most recent copy of the 2040 comprehensive plan. There's not just one single chapter or specific area of the plan on the topic of aging. So our assessment was based on keyword searches of age-related terms, as shown here on the slide. Terms like aging, older adults, seniors. With the comprehensive plans, some age-related information is required, like forecasts, housing needs, number of senior subsidized housing units, and existing transit service. But for the most part, discussion of aging is largely locally driven. For our review, we went through the comprehensive plans and found the areas of the plan that spoke to the topic of aging, and then created a database that summarized and categorized what communities were including in their plan on the topic. We plan to use the assessment's findings to inform and create future technical resources, and we'll also create a summary report. The baseline information got into the nitty-gritty, but today our goal is to provide a big picture, high-level overview of some of the themes and trends. Next slide, please. From our review, a few key takeaways were that all plans discussed planning for an aging population in some way. That level of discussion really varied among communities. Typically, there was more discussion of aging if the community had a larger population, or in communities where the share of older adults were larger. In the plan, the housing section generally had the most age-related discussion, followed by transportation and transit. We've been coordinating with the Metropolitan Area Agency on Aging Trellis during the review process, and they had a sampling of comprehensive plans and had a really nice and concise summary of their findings, which were similar to those key takeaways that I just mentioned. We plan to continue to coordinate with them as we further assess the baseline information and data that's been gathered from the plans. The discussion of aging in the comprehensive plans was typically included in the areas that are shown here on the slide. And Gabby will provide an overview of some of the high-level key themes for each of these areas. Next slide, please.
Great. Thank you, Freya. So as Angela mentioned, I am an associate planner with LPA. So housing was the area of the comprehensive plans which had the most discussion of aging. The trends we saw relate to 4 key areas: the desire for residents to age in place, the need for life cycle housing with a diverse range of housing options, including multifamily, mixed uses, as well as housing that is affordable for all ages and income levels. Many older adults want to age in place or stay in their homes and communities as they get older. As residents age, housing maintenance may make it more of a challenge for a person to stay in their home or community. Many communities indicated support and need for home repair or programs to help people stay in their homes. This included home modification programs, and oftentimes communities indicated support for new or remodeled homes to follow universal design standards that make houses safe and accessible for everyone, regardless of their age and physical ability. Communities indicated the need and support for life cycle housing with a diverse housing stock and affordability. Housing assessments based on existing housing and on projected growth identified housing needs. The range of needs included owner-occupied and rental options, as well as smaller, lower maintenance or single-level homes, high-density or multifamily housing, and the need for age-restricted housing, including assisted living and memory care. Housing affordability is a concern, especially as older adults have a higher risk of cost burden. Affordable housing choices, affordable subsidized senior housing, and particularly assisted living with a deep subsidy are especially important. If housing options or affordability is not available, it may force long-term residents from their communities. And many plans also discuss senior housing as part of mixed-use development and redevelopments that are connected to retail, amenities, parks and trails, transit, and services to serve the needs of all ages. A trend seen in many plans was a commitment to review or create accessory dwelling unit or ADU ordinances as a way of supporting housing diversity, aging in place, and multi-generational housing. Next slide, please. Another area of the plan that included discussion of planning for an aging population was in the transportation and transit section of the comprehensive plan. More specifically, we saw discussion on increased needs for seniors, commitment to accessibility, and TOD to support senior households. As people age, they become less mobile and more reliant on public transportation, family, and friends. The plans acknowledged the changing transportation needs with an aging population, including those who may not be able to take regular route transit, and anticipated the need for additional transit services. This was especially true for communities in suburban areas or areas with limited transit service. Most plans also discussed accessibility, indicating all new pedestrian and bicycle facilities must meet ADA accessibility guidelines that address the design needs of people with physical and/or visual impairments. Plans indicated that accessibility will become increasingly more important over the next 20 years due to demographic changes. As so, there will be a higher demand for accessible and safe multimodal transportation options that meet the needs of the most vulnerable users. The plan also discussed the connection of higher density land uses near transit to support housing for young families, singles, and seniors. Next slide, please. The Parks and Recreation section of the plan was also an area where planning for an aging population was discussed. Park use is linked to physical and mental well-being, especially for older adults. Oftentimes, plans discussed creating and preserving outdoor spaces that are accessible to all ages and income levels. This included assessing the needs of older adults and could include changes like building and retrofitting facilities to universal design standards, ensuring there is adequate seating, providing more passive opportunities, and ensuring park, trail, and recreational facilities are more accommodating and accessible. The park section of the comprehensive plans oftentimes discussed senior centers, including anticipated need for expanded adult and senior activities and programming, and this ranged from pickleball to ideas for garden areas in parks. Next slide, please. And lastly, the final theme revolved around health and wellness. Social and community connection is especially important as people age and helps prevent social isolation. Plans discuss connectedness through parks, activities and programming, and placemaking to increase social interaction, as well as creating and expanding mental and physical health initiatives and services for seniors. Plans also discussed supporting an active lifestyle with a focus on walkability. With an aging population, some plans considered the change in workforce and supporting work opportunities for non-traditional employees, such as youth and seniors, as well as potential volunteer opportunities within the community. And finally, some plans also discussed the anticipated increase in health and services needs. So in addition to these themes and trends, I will turn it back to Freya, who will discuss some examples of how communities discussed aging in the comp plans, and also provide emerging areas as it relates to aging. Next slide.
Thanks, Gabby. The discussion of aging and the comprehensive plans could really vary from just a few sentences to an integrated, innovative approach, as was shown, for example, in Maplewood's plan. Maplewood's comprehensive plan included 4 guiding principles: age friendliness, health, equity, and resilience, which represented their community values. The age-friendly guiding principle indicated that the city is a community where individuals of all ages are welcomed, included, and supported. It said that this begins with a wide range of safe, affordable housing that can serve the needs of people as they age in community, as well as those who want to relocate to the city. It also indicated that the city seeks to provide meaningful ways to participate and be active through employment, volunteerism, programming, education, and recreation, and that age friendliness addresses accessibility, walkability, and safety. Each of Maplewood's guiding principles had a symbol, and throughout the plan, it was very clear to see how the city's values, their guiding principles, were addressed and integrated into the actions or policies in the city's plan. So planning for aging was discussed in many different ways and many different plans. Maple Grove was the first suburban community in the state to seek the AARP age-friendly designation. Its plan included discussion of their designation, referencing their age-friendly action plan, and their plan had integrated age-friendly strategies within the plan. Little Canada had age-friendly callouts that showed where they had been intentional about planning for aging. And in some plans, like the city of Shoreview, discussion was centered on changing demographics and associated community needs. The county plans, like Dakota, Carver, and Ramsey, had tied their long-term work on supporting age friendliness and communities of a lifetime. Dakota County, for example, has a Communities for a Lifetime online dashboard that has information on changing demographics, types of housing within the community, land uses, walkability, etc. Next slide, please. There are some emerging topics related to aging. For example, the most recent American Planning Association Planning Advisory Service memo discussed planning for dementia-friendly communities. The advisory noted that oftentimes planners have not thought about planning for dementia-friendly communities, but that it's important to begin to do so now and into the future. There were a few plans from our review that did include mention of their work to become a different dementia-friendly community. Chanhassen's plan, for example, is titled Chanhassen for Life, and it had indicated that it had become an act on Alzheimer's community to consider how to best prepare the community for the impacts of Alzheimer's and other dementias. Roseville's plan also referenced their dementia-friendly work as well. But on a much broader level, plans indicated the importance of the consistent assessment of the aging population's community needs. Communities, both large and small, have created advisory committees, boards, and commissions on aging. St. Paul, for example, has the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Aging, which includes residents that advocate and provide policy guidance on to the city on aging issues and needs. Minneapolis likewise has an advisory committee on aging, and then there are similar committees throughout the region, for example, in Brooklyn Park, Norwood Young America, Blaine, Crystal, Eagan, Robbinsdale, Watertown, and others. Finally, a trend that we anticipate seeing is an increase in communities seeking the AARP World Health Organization age-friendly community designation. Next slide, please. At a state and national level, More communities are enrolling in the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities, which is an affiliate of the World Health Organization's Age-Friendly Initiative. As shown here on the left, becoming an age-friendly community or state is a multi-year process, which includes a baseline assessment of age friendliness, a multi-year action plan, and ends with evaluation and continuous improvement. Age-friendly communities organize their work around 8 domains of livability, which are shown here on the right, including areas like housing, outdoor space, and transportation. The pandemic and its disproportionate impact on older residents has shown the importance of emergency preparedness, and some communities and states have added that as a new additional domain. Within the region, Minneapolis, Maple Grove, Hennepin County, Brooklyn Park, and Oakdale have enrolled in the network, and there are 8 cities and counties outside the region that are also enrolled. Next slide, please. There's been important work occurring at a state level regarding planning for aging. The governor created an executive order establishing the Governor's Council on Age-Friendly Minnesota. He indicated the importance of this work and that the executive order coordinates efforts across agencies and sectors. Next slide, please. Through the executive order, a governor-appointed age-friendly council was formed to begin coordinating and supporting a wide range of state and local efforts to better support older adults. The Governor's Council includes participation of 8 state agencies, the Metropolitan Council as represented by Councilmember Vento, as well as 1 tribal nation and 5 community members. This slide has some of the key milestones and efforts on a state level. And a very exciting addition is that last week, the governor submitted a letter and application for Minnesota to enter into the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. The letter indicated that last year, the number of older adults eclipsed the number of children in our state for the first time in history, and that the demographic shift presents a range of opportunities and challenges. Enrollment in the network is a multi-year process with steps to move us all towards an age-friendly Minnesota. With enrollment, Minnesota joins 8 other states in the nation that have enrolled in the network. Next slide, please. So in closing, today we wanted to provide a big picture overview of some of the key themes from the comprehensive plans, as well as some exciting momentum on the topic. We'll be taking a more detailed look at the data that has been gathered, creating a report and potential resources, and look forward to next steps and coming back with any updates. Thank you.
Thank you for this presentation. What an interesting amount of information, and clearly it will impact everything that the Metropolitan Council does. This is just fascinating, and thank you, Councilmember Vento, for representing the Met Council on the Governor's Council. Appreciate that. And I see your hand is up, so let's go to some questions and comments, Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. And I want to just do a huge shout out to Angela and Gabby and Freya for their patience with getting on our agenda, us getting to them. We were scheduled to do it in December, and we had a lengthy meeting, and they agreed to come back tonight. So I'm really grateful for that. It's clear that they have done a lot of thorough work, and they did a great effort in putting together a really concise presentation. The governor established the Age-Friendly Council in December of 2019, and our first meeting has I think been our only meeting in person. Our first meeting was just prior to the March reality check in terms of COVID. And so everything's been in person since, and we've been led by great staff and a remarkable chair on that age-friendly council. And I've been aided through our discussions in terms of the Met Council's role and what we can offer and do on our part to be a contributing partner in this effort by Freya, and she's just been great to get to know and to work with. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm really proud of the council's role in this. And I'm really I'm pretty awestruck by the data that was shared tonight. I've seen it before, but every time I see it, it just is kind of another energizer in terms of how important this particular issue is. And certainly as it relates to COVID, addressing the needs of our elder neighbors has been important. But whether it's COVID, housing, transit, parks and trails, these are important citizens in our community, and we have to do everything we can to meet their needs and engage them in the conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other questions, comments? Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Councilmember Vento, for your service. It's really great that you have taken on that role and can bring back information to the Met Council as well. So really appreciate your leadership on that. I just want to simply say thanks to our team for, investigating this and bringing forward all of this. I mean, I can only imagine conducting a lot of this by word searches was probably just excruciating, maybe in a very exciting kind of a way, but it's interesting how we are starting to see our communities pivot a bit as it relates to the needs of their older community members. And I remember too, and it was probably 15 years ago that we started to talk about some of this in Plymouth, but there wasn't an organized way or a program that you could start to adopt. You just started to try to figure it out in various ways through the comp plan. So I can only imagine, again, all the iterations and the good information you've pulled up from, looking through everything that is out in the comp plans right now. I do want to give a shout out to Age Friendly Maple Grove. They meet every Friday mornings. I don't join them very often, but they've reached out to me during their process. They approached me and talked to me about transportation issues. That was the key. They have different committees, housing, transportation. They're very organized. I'm sure we could hold them up as one of the groups that has a best practice in how to do this. And it'd be interesting, to maybe highlight their work with other communities because they'd be such a good resource and how a community can start doing this work. And they're very active, and I just really appreciate that because they're really leading the way and engaging Met Council and other elected and appointed officials in all of the areas of service that are important to their community members. And then my question is this: are there regions that are also signing up to become an age-friendly region? Now I know we have a lot of moving parts and we don't control everything that's going on, but at some point, if we get enough communities that are moving forward in this process and we kind of maybe weave together something that would show up in our 2050 plan on this subject or some, I don't know, we're just, I think, a very progressive and leading region. And it'd be great, to showcase again, the good work that's taking place and help expand that and, showcase it across the country. So just again, a big thanks to team. Always appreciate you bringing this really good information to us and remembering, all segments of our population and what their needs are.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any comments on that? Freya or Gabby or Angela or Councilmember Vento?
Well, I'm going to defer to Freya, but before I do, I'm not aware of any regions. What we have learned is that it's cities and townships and counties that are doing it. And one of the things that would make it hard as a region is what you really want to do is get people involved as much as possible at the local level. And so if we were to do it at a region, it might kind of diminish, maybe what our goal could be to have our entire region accomplish this. but I don't know that they'd necessarily recognize this as a region, but Freya can answer that. And I want to also note, Councilmember Johnson, that we did get a wonderful presentation by the Maple Grove folks. They did I think they were one of our first. They did a great job. We also had a presentation from Olmsted County. They are a county-wide, as well as Hennepin County. So it's, and there are smaller communities, Alexandria, Northfield. So this is spreading, and there's great interest in it, and a lot of recognition for the really good work that all of the state agencies and all of the members of the council are doing. So, Freya, do you want to add anything?
No, I think that covered it, Madam Chair and council members. Right now, the Age Friendly Network is a network of cities, townships, counties, and states. And so it's that limited group right now. But as Councilmember Vento said, one of the things that has been so amazing is how these different communities that are enrolled in the network, how generous they are in sharing the information that they learn, and how great certain connections can be made among different communities. And so it's been really neat to see the different communities, whether they're small or big or counties, kind of share out information and really be there as a resource for other communities who are interested in enrolling in the program.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think one of the things that's always exciting to me as these programs grow, first of all, in your presentation, all of the work that the cities are already doing and all of the programs that they're pursuing and so forth. But I think one of the reasons that Minnesota is such a leader is that willingness to share and all of the resources and all of the thinking. And we're not always reinventing the wheel. There isn't any, it isn't necessary. And the stronger we are, the strength that we have is because of all this connectivity and willingness to partner and discover together. So this was really exciting work. So thank you. And Councilmember Chambliss has joined us, and you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad that we had this presentation as well. Hennepin County being a huge number of cities participating, including Brooklyn Park and Maple Grove in Minneapolis. Brooklyn Park, I've attended several presentations through the city's engagement efforts on universal housing, and glad to see that they are officially a part of this age-friendly network, and hoping that we can incorporate that into some of our project-based housing and potentially even get some funding to increase universal housing and accommodations and transportation. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other comments or questions from anybody? Not seeing any. Welcome, Gabby. I neglected to say that. Welcome to the team. And thank you for your participation in this. It'll be very exciting to follow and get follow-ups and further information. So thank you. It was a great presentation of really important information. Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports. Councilmember Deb Barber, do you have a report? Oh, you have your hand up.
I'm on top of things tonight. Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, Madam Chair, I do have an update for the council. It's regarding MTS contracted services, and I wanted to report on something that was reported on at Transportation Committee on Monday. We currently have an operator shortage with over 100 vacancies across all service contracts, about 15% below our desired operator count. Currently, the contracted service starting wage is around $18 for drivers. This just isn't competitive against freight, package delivery, or school bus driver hourly rates and incentives. As a result, MTS staff is working to increase starting pay to $20 minimum wage for the drivers. This still remains below, more than $1 below Metro Transit starting wage. The contract rate adjustments are needed to enact the wage increase. These will be executed through contract amendments in the next few weeks. No contract amendment will require council authorization because it's less than 10% of the value, but we wanted to communicate this adjustment to the council. Staff and contractors feel this adjustment will be very helpful in recruiting additional operators to deliver this critical service. A KSTP news story last Friday shared our largest Metro Mobility contractors' work and job opportunities across all paratransit providers. The report tells a good story of our service and promotes the available job opportunities to deliver these services. So we're going to play the video for you all here. And as Jason is loading the video, I can say a couple of things. The reporter visited a day training and rehabilitation program in Golden Valley called Workabilities. We always provide media instruction to protect riders' identities and to not take footage of customers unless specifically permitted. In this case, the Workabilities director provided access to take footage of the drivers arriving with the customers. And with that, we can play the video.
Minnesota schools have been hit really hard by a shortage of bus drivers.
But the Met Council says there is a similar trend with the Metro Mobility Service. They transport people who are older, have a disability, maybe even a health condition. Brett Hoffland explains the impact.
It surely wasn't Caribbean-like weather outside on Friday. But the folks at Workabilities in Golden Valley wanted to make it feel that way.
We want to give people a good day. We want to put a smile on their face.
Luanna Ball is the executive director at Workabilities, a nonprofit day services program that provides support for around 250 people with developmental disabilities.
They range in service needs from, high medically fragile, more physically involved, to people who are really very independent.
She says 90% of them rely on Metro Mobility to get here.
The reason I'm doing this is I like people.
Harry Ratliff is one of their drivers.
I notice on days when I'm on vacation or off, they ask about me. They say, "Where is Harry?"
But right now, the Met Council says there's a driver shortage.
We've never had a driver shortage quite like this.
Stacy Richter and her husband run Transit Team. They're one of the providers of Metro Mobility, and they hire the drivers that help people who are older, have a disability, or a health condition get to where they need to go every day.
For a lot of them, they may live alone or not get out very often, and Metro Mobility is their lifeline.
The Met Council tells me their active driver count with Metro Mobility is nearly 20% below their target number. And that doesn't even include an extra 8% that's out of work because of COVID.
It's just like a perfect storm right now.
The staff here is hoping it doesn't get worse. How much impact would that have on you guys?
Well, huge impact. These individuals need very specialized transportation. We wouldn't be able to operate.
For anyone interested in becoming a bus operator, take it from Harry, who's been doing it for 7 years. He says it's about much more than just driving.
A wise old sage said to me once, he said, Harry, if you want to be happy, help somebody. And that's what we do every day here.
It's not just a job. It's something that you are really making an impact on your community.
We all have places to be. It's just some rely on others to get there. And arriving with a smile is something Harry plans to keep delivering.
So that tells me that I've done something right, and I feel good about that.
In Golden Valley, Brett Hoffland, 5 Eyewitness News.
So, as you can see, it was a very, very good story that not only showed how critical the services in Metro Mobility are, but that just like we're seeing with Metro Transit, there continues to be a need for additional operators. And so definitely please spread the word among all of your networks. This is really about helping people and helping people get to the places that they need. And I'd pause and see if there's any questions. Both either Director Charles Carlson or myself could answer any questions.
Any questions? Councilmember Vento.
I don't have a question. I just want to suggest that anytime there's a news organization looking for someone to help with a story on Metro Mobility, Harry Ratliff has to be your guy. He made me cry. So kudos to Harry. That was great.
Yeah. Any other comments? I guess I have a question and comment. Yeah, Harry is wonderful, and he really is evidence that this can be a great, satisfying, rewarding career, and that it is so important. It also spotlights, I think, how really critical the work is of Metro Mobility in providing transportation. 90% of the individuals at that facility use Metro Mobility. I mean, that's amazing, and it really underscores the important work that the Met Council does, particularly in this area. I'm wondering, Charles, maybe have you gotten any responses to Harry's plug for becoming an operator?
Well, thanks, Madam Chair. Not that we've heard yet, I think they are continuing to struggle with the challenges, but the combination of good news stories like that and the rate increase that we can offer a competitive wage will, we're certainly hopeful will help. Obviously, as it said in the story, things have been compounded a bit by COVID, but even just starting from that baseline of being, double digits down from our desired count, clearly we're going to turn over every rock to increase our driver count.
Thank you for that. I think too, it can be a great career being an operator, and we are in competition with, of course, every other type of business that needs operators. So I think it's great that we raised the wage. I think that certainly helps to make us more competitive. And, I know that I have talked to lots of affinity organizations in the cities that I represent, and it's very easy to put that information out and have it shared within your cities. So if you have not, I guess I would urge you to be in touch with your cities and remind them that we do have a shortage and that we are actively recruiting, and that this can be just a wonderful career. And hopefully we'll be able to fill those positions soon, and hopefully COVID will resolve, and at least so that we don't have that shortage as well. We have enough challenges right now. But thank you for that. It was a wonderful report. It put a smile on my face, and I'm sorry it made you cry, Sue.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
They were good tears.
They were good tears. Okay, thank you. Mary Bogie, any reports from you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Much like we're seeing in our transit system, COVID is impacting us across the council. The Omicron variant has taken over the most dominant variant in Minnesota, and it did that in less than a month. According to the Department of Health, we're just seeing evidence of much higher rates of transmission and high case numbers. Fortunately, especially with vaccinated and in particular with being boosted, the cases are milder, but we're just also seeing a lot of pressure on our hospitals and things. And we're seeing that in our population as well, with a lot more transmission in each of our areas. The chair is participating with the state in reporting on our critical infrastructure, and for us primarily that's our wastewater system, public health, as well as our transit system. So we are seeing more outages in those areas. So far we've been able to manage those. In our wastewater area, we're fortunate that we're not seeing whole groups or whole plants going out, but 3 to 4 people at a time going out and being able to come back a little bit sooner. And so we're continuing to monitor those things and reporting regularly to the state on our critical infrastructure. I think we're seeing it in other places as well in the community, not just, we're not immune to what we're seeing in mail delivery or garbage delivery. I think you're seeing those things on the news as well. Same kind of things that we're working through here.
Thank you. Thank you. And General Counsel, Ms. Bloodhart, anything to report from you? Nothing?
Madam Chair, I will pass.
Okay. Are there any other comments, questions, reports, or anything from council members? Anything to wrap up? We're wrapping up early, 5 o'clock. As Charlie would say, you get an hour back in your day, and it's still kind of light out, and it's certainly warm. So with that, thank you all for being here, and the meeting is adjourned.
Good meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Madam Chair.